one question here. Do you think we're currently in a tech bubble? What advice do you have for recent grads with regards to risk versus safety?
Those are two excellent questions. So I don't like bubble theory. I think that's just like, it's obviously a prime example of negative thinking.
Yeah, you did go through one or two, right?
Several.
Yeah.
I mean, we raised money for Evernote in 2008, which was like the worst time in the history of the cosmos.
Right.
And it was great. And I went through a tech bubble before, and now there's one. So bubble thinking like doesn't illuminate very much. Like it assumes like everything is always either undervalued or overvalued. Nothing is ever valued correctly. So everything is undervalued or overvalued, and it's usually a transition from one state to the other, and then transition happens sometimes very quickly, sometimes slowly, but it isn't like there's a bubble that just pops because it's all been, overinflated bullshit, and now you have to like build it back up again. We are probably at a point right now where certain classes of companies are overvalued compared to their historical average, which means that over the next time period, they will probably swing to be undervalued and then, kind of revert back to the mean. The thing to do is not to try to time that. Like I think it's very, very difficult to time that, and I'm not good at it. So for example, about 15 years ago, I stopped picking stocks myself. Like I don't pick public stocks. I decided about 15 years ago that it just wasn't worth it for me to do it. I still own a bunch of stock because it's a good investment class, but I don't choose them. I don't even know which ones I own. Honestly, like I don't know whether or not I own Apple stock right now. Because I decided that like me spending time on it, it just wasn't worth it. Like it didn't actually bring any great insight into it. It was very stressful. And honestly, like I wasn't going to make enough money doing that versus actually building like something. So I let other people do that, and I focus on this thing. So if you happen to be good at timing bubbles, that's great. That's like a very specific job opportunity for you, but most of you probably suck at it, just like I do, and it's sort of pointless to worry about. So yeah, times are going to be tougher, or going to be leaner for the next couple of years for startups. That's the best time to start anything. If you look at all the successful companies now, a lot of us got started in 08. Like 08, 09 was sort of the time for a lot of the current multi-billion-dollar companies. It's actually usually a good idea to start when things are a little bit lean, for lots of obvious reasons. So like when is the best time to start a company? The best time to start a company is it's always right now. Like regardless of whether times happen to be good or bad. It's always right now. The question is, what's the right thing to start right now? That's much better. I would definitely never say like, well, market's kind of rough, so maybe you should sit on this idea for another few years and kill time for a while and then go back to it. Like, if you're going to do something, do it now, but just figure out what that thing should be. What was the second? What was the non-bubble part?
So that was just how to think about risk versus safety.
Oh yeah, that's a great one, risk. So risk is bullshit. There's no risk. Like if you're here, if you're in this room, what risk? This is like the most commonly misunderstood word. I think because people think that the word risk means something other than they think it is. I think like intuitively, they kind of know what risk should mean, but it's taken on this like financial sense, and so people say risk and they're trying to like sound smarter than they are, but there is no risk for most of us.
What do you think it means?
So I think risk is like, risk is like, should I ask this girl out on a date because I really like her and it'd be really good to go on a date with her, but if she says no, I also really like her friend and she's going to tell her friend about it and then I'll lose my opportunity there. Like that's a risk-reward calculation.
Yeah.
Or risk is like, I'm really hungry and I'm a caveman from 100,000 years ago and I haven't eaten anything in 2 weeks because I haven't been successful in this hunt, and there's a woolly mammoth over there, so I can go and like try to club him, but he'll probably kill me, but I kind of need to feed my family. Like that's a risk-reward calculation.
Yeah.
What's the equivalent of that here? Is it like, well, should I join a startup or should I join a big company? There's no trade-off. Your job security is non-existent in both cases. You're going to get paid roughly the same amount in both cases. You probably have more upside, more variable upside in the startup. In case it does well, your stock will probably be worth more, but you probably have slightly more baseline salary in the big company. But the expected values of those two things is not vastly different.
Yeah.
it's not like you're less marketable. Well, you join a startup, and what if it goes out of business? Well, okay, well, then you get another job. I mean, unemployment is very low compared, for people who actually have the right kind of skills and experience, which most of you probably do. So there's no risk. Like you can't go wrong. The only risk is like not taking a chance. Like the only risk is you do something boring, and you wake up 10 years later, and you're like, I'm unhappy with my life because I've done something boring. So luckily, that risk is super easy to control. Just don't do boring shit, and you're going to be fine.